Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Newsnight on DD India, your prime-time destination for news and bespoke analysis. It's good to have you again with us. All right, on the show tonight, the latest on the Prime Minister's meeting with the Chief Ministers to discuss about the rollout of COVID-19 vaccine from 16th January. Also on the show, in the US, the Democrats give an ultimatum on Trump: remove him from office or we will impeach him. Plus, news and updates from India and the world. All that and much more coming up over the next 1 hour. But first, as always, the headlines. Prime Minister Modi speaks to Chief Ministers about preparations for rolling out COVID-19 vaccine from 16th January. Says it would be the largest inoculation campaign of its kind in the world. Health workers and frontline workers to be vaccinated first. Government to bear the cost of phase 1 of vaccinations. 300 million people to get a vaccine in the next few months. Bird flu cases confirmed in Delhi and Maharashtra among 10 states. The Prime Minister asks the Chief Ministers to supervise district magistrates. Tells other states to remain alert too. Minister Giriraj Singh asks Delhi government to reopen the Ghazipur market. Urges people not to panic. Supreme Court for an amicable solution to the farmers' protest says a committee could look into the demands of the farmers. Urges the elderly, women and children to stay indoors. Court likely to pass an order on the farmers' agitation on Tuesday. Union Home Minister Amit Shah launches a single window clearance system for transparency in commercial coal mining. Says the coal sector has a big role to play in making the country self-reliant. National Youth Parliament Festival 2021 gets underway in New Delhi. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and Youth Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju addressed the event. PM Modi to address the valedictory function on Tuesday. Startup India turns 5. India to host an international startup summit called Praram on the 15th and 16th of January. PM urges youths to take part in it. A resilient batting display helps India draw the third test against Australia at Sydney. 4-match series tied 1-1, fourth and last test to be played at Brisbane from Friday. And Bangladesh to be the country in focus at the 51st International Film Festival of India. Asia's oldest and India's biggest festival, IFFI, to kickstart in Goa from 16th January. Right, let me dive straight into our cover story. Prime Minister Modi on Monday spoke to Chief Ministers about preparations being made for rolling out the COVID-19 vaccine from 16th January. Here is a comprehensive report.
The day that the entire nation has been anxiously waiting for. 16th December will announce start of the most extensive and largest vaccination program in the world against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. With 4 more days to go, the centre and the state governments have started preparations for the mammoth exercise. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is keeping a close eye on the developments. On Monday, the Prime Minister interacted with all the Chief Ministers and Lieutenant Governors and Administrators of the Union Territories via video conferencing on the matter. COVID-19 pandemic situation in the states and the preparations for the vaccination drive were discussed in detail during the interaction. Many states also put forward their suggestions on the matter. In his concluding remarks, the Prime Minister appreciated the efforts put in by the state governments. He said that the nation has reached a critical stage in the fight against the pandemic.
16 जनवरी से हम दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा टीकाकरण अभियान शुरू कर रहे हैं। ये हम सभी के लिए गौरव की बात है कि जिन 2 वैक्सीन को इमरजेंसी यूज ऑथराइजेशन दिया गया है वो दोनों ही मेड इन इंडिया है। इतना ही नहीं, 4 और वैक्सीन प्रोग्रेस में है और जब और वैक्सीन आ जाएगी तो हमें फ्यूचर का प्लान करने में वो भी एक बहुत बड़ी सुविधा रहेगी।
Prime Minister asserted that Indian scientists have taken utmost precautions and followed every protocol in developing the vaccines. He said that the government has taken the decision based on inputs by the scientific community. Prime Minister further assured that both the vaccines are affordable. Prime Minister gave the details of the entire vaccination program and also the details of who will be accorded priority in the vaccination drive.
हमारी कोशिश सबसे पहले उन लोगों तक कोरोना वैक्सीन पहुंचाने की है जो देशवासियों की स्वास्थ्य सुरक्षा में जुटे हुए हैं, जो हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर्स हैं, सरकारी हो या प्राइवेट, पहले उनको टीका लगाया जाएगा। इसके साथ साथ हमारे जो सफाई कर्मचारी हैं, दूसरे फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स हैं, ऐसे साथियों को भी पहले चरणों में टीका लगाया जा रहा है। तय किया गया है कि पहले चरण में इन 3 करोड़ लोगों को वैक्सीन देने के लिए जो खर्च होगा वो राज्य सरकारों को वहन नहीं करना है, भारत सरकार इसको वहन करेगी।
Prime Minister also explained in detail the functioning and role of CoWIN app in the entire exercise.
कोविन पहले टीके के बाद एक डिजिटल वैक्सीनेशन सर्टिफिकेट जनरेट करेगा। लाभार्थी को यह सर्टिफिकेट टीका लगाने के बाद डिजिटली तुरंत देना जरूरी है ताकि उसे सर्टिफिकेट लेने के लिए फिर ना आना पड़े। किसको टीका लग चुका है ये तो इस सर्टिफिकेट से पता चलेगा ही, साथ ही दूसरी डोज उसको कब लगेगी इसके रिमाइंडर के रूप में भी ये काम करेगा।
Prime Minister stated that the preparations for COVID vaccination program have been completed, but underlined the importance to observe and follow the COVID appropriate protocol. He said that the priority will be to not pay any attention to any rumors.
हर राज्य, हर केंद्र शासित प्रदेश को ये सुनिश्चित करना होगा कि अफवाहों पर, वैक्सीन से जुड़े अपप्रचार को कोई हवा न मिले। इफ्स और बट्स से बात नहीं होनी चाहिए। देश और दुनिया के अनेक स्वार्थी तत्व हमारे इस अभियान में रुकावट डालने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं। कॉरपोरेट कंपटीशन भी इसमें आ सकती है, कंट्री का प्राइड के नाम से भी आ सकता है, बहुत सी चीजें हो सकती हैं। ऐसी हर कोशिश को देश के हर नागरिक तक सही जानकारी पहुंचाकर हमें नाकाम करना है।
3 phases of dry runs have been conducted across the country. The third dry run was conducted on 8th January across 615 districts, covering 4,895 session sites in 33 states and union territories. Prime Minister, in his interaction, also talked about the COVID situation in the country and assured the chief ministers that the spread of COVID pandemic is not as bad in India as in other affected countries. He said that the anxiety levels may have receded, but this is certainly not the time to lower the guard. News Night Desk, DD India.
Right now, endorsing the safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines, the Indian Medical Association has announced that it has decided to actively take part in the mission of COVID vaccination program rolled out by Government of India. The IMA said in a statement that the association stands with the scientists to endorse the safety and efficacy of both Covaxin and Covishield. The Indian Medical Association is the largest representative body of modern medicine doctors. After an extensive review of scientific data, indexed articles, expert panel reports, and in discussion with the IMA, ICMR and WHO experts, it decided to actively take part in the mission of COVID vaccination program rolled out by the government. The Indian Medical Association, in an official statement, has requested all its 3.5 lakh members in 1,800 local branches to voluntarily come out to get vaccinated first to show to the people that these vaccines are safe and efficacious. Right, time now for our In Focus segment, in which we are discussing about PM reviews COVID vaccination rollout with states. Joining me are three very special guests. Dr. Raman R. Ganga Khedkar, Dr. C.G. Pandit, National Chair of the Indian Council of Medical Research or the ICMR, Dr. Jayesh Lele, Honorary Secretary General of the IMA, and Professor Puneet Kumar Mishra from the Department of Community Medicine at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Gentlemen, welcome to News Night. If I can start with you, Dr. Ganga Khedkar, it's been 1 year and counting since the outbreak of the pandemic. What is going through your mind tonight as we speak? Are you satisfied, relieved, anxious? What would best describe your state of mind, Dr. Ganga Khedkar?
No, state of mind is difficult to describe as of now. The reality is we have done exceedingly well in handling COVID-19.
Right.
Now we have come to a final stage when the first wave itself is on a decline. We are in a position to use the second weapon that is available to us, and that's vaccine. The only bigger challenge that I see is we will have to ensure, all of us, will have to ensure that we support the best way by ensuring that the healthcare workers and the frontline workers take this vaccine and advocate for the same into the community. This is one in 100 years phenomenon. We have done exceedingly well. All the healthcare workers, they have done exceedingly good job in ensuring that they provide the best healthcare service to the people and keep the mortality rates down, the numbers also down. Now, there is only one worry, that we need to have some moments of anxiety that if we are able to roll it out really well in the first priority group of healthcare workers and frontline workers, to whom people will look at them as opinion leaders, we would win this particular war. And nobody ever thought that this war can be easy to be handled so easily, so well as we have done so far. Within a year's time, you see vaccine is being rolled out. You see the biggest challenge that the government could ever have, because our entire population is 1/6 of the world. If we are doing it so well, I think it's duty of all the citizens to support, ensure that the rumor mongering is stopped to the largest extent, and reflect within. Before you say no to the vaccine, reflect within whether if I do it that way, would I be contributing one way or the other to this outbreak being contained in India for this particular pandemic that comes once in 100 years.
Indeed. Dr. Lele, help our viewers understand how the IMA intends to join the efforts of the government to ensure that in the first few phases, almost 3 crore frontline workers get the twin shots of the vaccine. What's the IMA's role and action plan going forward?
Yes, IMA has announced all our 3.5 lakh doctors, 1,800 branches across India will primarily with their healthcare workers, paramedical workers working in their hospitals, right from reception to in ICCU, they will be taking the vaccination themselves first phase and clear the doubts and the myths and the misconceptions which we have. That some discussions have taken place. And at the same time, some of our hospitals, our seniors, our doctors who are ready to store, to keep the vaccines, give vaccination program, because to vaccinate such a large program, we need doctors also to give this vaccination to other people later on. So this is our completely we have taken and we have already circulated to all our doctors across India that the 100% we will stand by the government. And as our seniors have said that in the last year was a very, very bad for the doctor community. We lost almost 730 doctors of IMA and the frontline workers.
730 you said.
But this vaccine coming up, there were some issues. And now with the dry runs being sorted out, the transmission, storing, all the things have been very well certified. So it will be right opportunity for our doctor community to tell the patients that themselves have taken the vaccine so there will be no hindrance in the patients to take the vaccine in later on.
Indeed. Dr. Mishra, coming to you now, as somebody who deals with community medicine as the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi. Now, I want to highlight a couple of key points from the government statement after the PM chaired this meeting this afternoon. Now, the PM says that the most important factor in this vaccination drive is A, identification, and B, monitoring of those who need to be vaccinated, number one. Number two, for this, CoWIN digital platform has been created. With the help of Aadhaar, beneficiaries will be identified as well as timely seconds dosage will be ensured. Help our viewers understand the process here in the subsequent phases going forward. Would people have to register themselves on the CoWIN app, or will the government notify the concerned beneficiaries going forward?
We are going to start the first phase of this vaccination program from 16th of January. And as our Honorable Prime Minister has already informed that during the first phase, we would give vaccination to healthcare workers and then frontline workers, followed by senior citizens and people who are with comorbid conditions. So we have all the database for the healthcare workers and frontline workers, and they need not register in the CoWIN app. Later on, there is a facility to register a person in the CoWIN app. But at this time, those who are getting during the first phase, that is the frontline healthcare workers and the frontline workers from different forces and other functionaries, they need not register. All the data is already there in the CoWIN software. And the good thing about this software is that it would make things very easy to keep all the data and where to generate the certificate and to remind the people for the second dose, along with the real-time monitoring of all the activities which are going on, including the vaccine stock, transportation, logistics, and other information in the very comprehensive manner.
Right. Dr. Mishra, just a quick follow-up here. The statement put out by the government also says, and I'm quoting from the statement, in the second stage, those above 50 years of age and those below 50 years of age with comorbidities or with high risk of infection will be vaccinated, unquote. Now, if I or anybody watching this program tonight falls in either category, what do they need to do?
I think for them, the registration process will be started very soon. Those who are elderly and comorbid conditions, lot of information about those who are above 50 years of age, it is available with the voter list. But those who are with the comorbid conditions, probably they would be required to register, and the related information would be released very soon, that when the registration would start on the CoWIN platform.
Right. Dr. Ganga Kherkar, one very interesting thing the PM noted was that India's vast experience with vaccination will prove handy in this endeavor as well. Now, looking ahead, do we have a timeline in mind for this particular phase to complete, number one? And number two, what's the status of the other 4 vaccines under various trials in India today?
One thing which we must realize, as our numbers tend to be higher, it is possible that if everything goes smoothly by August end, we should be able to cover most of them and then move along to the other groups.
So the first phase, that is 3 crore health workers, will be vaccinated till August, and then the next phase will start.
I actually mean the entire prioritization of the healthcare workers, frontline workers, and the above 50 population and less than 50 with chronic morbidity. Perhaps it should take time until August if we go in a massive way to ensure that we roll it out well. The second issue, that perhaps what are those 4 vaccines and where they are. All those 4 vaccines have got approval to phase 3 trial, and now the phase 3 trials are ongoing. One must also remember that at this point in time, there is a decline in new infections that is occurring, and therefore it is possible that they may take a little longer time to complete their sample size And I expect that perhaps by second 2 or 3 months time, you will have at least some of them passing the scrutiny of the regulator and be approved for use in human beings.
Indeed. And coming to you now, Dr. Lele, now the statement put out by IMA says it's asked its 1,800 local branches to voluntarily come out to get vaccinated first to show to the world that these vaccines are safe and efficacious. Is that a means to put to rest all speculation that some people might have, rumors of flying thick and fast? This should put an end to all speculation that these vaccines, as you say, are safe and too effective, isn't it?
Yes, we are proposing to have a small booklet, and we'll have a lot of question answers, lot of queries will be sorted out, which is being prepared in vernacular language, so that will solve the problems and solve the queries and misunderstanding. So that will help every patient to take this vaccine.
Indeed. Dr. Mishra, now we heard about the COVID pandemic, and now we are told also about the bird flu pandemic. Now, as somebody who deals with community medicine, and can you throw some light on what needs to be done going forward to put people at ease, saying that there's no need to panic or to worry, and that things are under control at multiple levels, at the central government level and also the state level, to combat these epidemics going forward as well?
Yeah, very important. The first thing is definitely there is no need to be panic, and our Prime Minister has also pointed out today during his interaction with the CM, and he has pointed out about the bird flu. Yes, bird flu it's kind of influenza which is prevalent in the wild birds, especially the aquatic birds, and sometimes it enters into other birds and into poultry farms. And what happens, those infected birds, they have possibility that it can be transmitted to humans if adequate precautions are not taken. So what happens that those who are handling raw meat or those who are working in the poultry industry, they need to be careful. They should use all the protective devices like gloves, mask, and goggles. And for the public, what I would say, there's no need to be panic, and there's no case reported from human to human. Whatsoever reported is from the birds to human, and there are very few cases. Around 300 cases all over the world has been reported since 1997. What you need to do is, those who consume the poultry and eggs, they should cook it well. It should be cooked evenly above 70 degrees centigrade, and then there is no chance. Avoid eating raw meat or avoid eating raw egg. It will protect you from, if you cook it well, there is almost no risk of getting any bird flu to you. So you should be taking all the precautions, but there is no need to be panic. And this is not the first time that we have faced the situation of the bird flu occurring in the birds. It has happened many times, and we should be careful. That's my message.
Indeed. And finally, Dr. Ganga Kherkar, the PM says that so far vaccination has been done in only about 50 countries, 50, and only about 2.5 crore people have been vaccinated so far. And India, on the other hand, aims to vaccinate 30 crore, 300 million people over the next few months. Now, this, by any stretch of imagination, is a mammoth exercise, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But we should consider ourselves lucky that we have one of the best public health infrastructure that is available, which goes right up to villages. And also, like from IMA, the support is coming for public-private partnership. I'm sure that the public-private partnership will become a vital key in ensuring that the rollout occurs as rapidly as we want to. What is important is, this is a time where we have seen public-private partnership in a strong way in COVID, whether it is healthcare management or otherwise. Now, perhaps we will be launching even these services into prevention-related approaches for COVID vaccine delivery. And I'm sure if we all come together, our strength lies in unity. We will be able to make a difference.
Indeed, our strength lies in unity and we shall overcome, says Dr. Ganga Kherkar. On that optimistic note, I want to thank all three of my guests, Dr. Ganga Kherkar, Dr. Lele and Dr. Mishra for joining us on Newsnight. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right, moving on. Monday was the 47th day of the farmers' agitation. Supreme Court said it was an amicable solution to the protests. The court will likely pass an order on Tuesday.
The matter of farmers' agitation against the new reform laws reached the Supreme Court for hearing on Monday. Bench headed by CJI S.A. Bobde started hearing the matter and gave patient hearing to both the sides. The court said that no tangible solution has come from the many rounds of talks between the two sides. The court repeated its earlier proposal of forming a committee of independent experts to go through the laws. The court also asked for suggestions of names to be included in the committee. The court also proposed to stay the implementation of the laws. The AG, K.K. Venugopal, strongly opposed any kind of stay on the implementation of the laws and said that the court can stay the implementation of the laws only if the said law contravenes the fundamental rights or fails on the constitutional validity front. Court replied that it is aware of the difference between staying the legislation and staying the implementation of the law. Solicitor General apprised the court that only the farmers who are sitting on dharna at many border points are against the law. Court also sought to know from the farmers that if the implementation of the laws is suspended, then will the farmers shift the agitation to some other venue where there is no inconvenience to the common man and the threat of COVID-19 spread can also be minimized. The Council for Farmers sought time to discuss the matter with farmer leaders and revert back to the court. CJI said that the intention of the court is to bring an amicable solution. He also suggested to the Farmers' Council that the elderly, women and children should be at home and not camp at the borders exposed to the vagaries of nature. Some farmers and trade organizations also put forward their view during the hearing. The hearing will continue on Tuesday. So far, many rounds of talks have taken place between the centre and the farmer unions on the matter. The next round is slated to be held on the 15th of January. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Moving on, bird flu cases have been confirmed in Delhi and Maharashtra among 10 states. The government has told the states to increase surveillance and public awareness.
Bird flu cases are continuously on the rise in the country. With confirmed bird flu cases in Delhi and Maharashtra, 10 states in the country have reported bird flu cases. Earlier, bird flu cases were confirmed from Kerala, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana, Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh. During the interaction with chief ministers of different states on corona vaccine rollout, PM Narendra Modi asked states to be alert on bird flu.
बर्ड फ्लू से निपटने के लिए पशुपालन मंत्रालय द्वारा कार्य योजना बनाई गई है, जिसका तत्परता से पालन आवश्यक है। इसमें डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट की भी बड़ी भूमिका है। मेरा आग्रह है कि प्रभावित राज्यों के मुख्यमंत्री साथी भी मुख्य सचिवों के माध्यम से सभी डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट का मार्गदर्शन करें। हमें सभी राज्यों, स्थानीय प्रशासन को वाटर बॉडीज के आसपास, पक्षी बाजारों में, जू में, पोल्ट्री फार्म इत्यादि पर निरंतर निगरानी रखनी है। बर्ड फ्लू को लेकर लोगों में अफवाहें न फैलें, इसे भी हमें देखना होगा।
According to official information, bird flu has been confirmed from 10 states. Apart from this, ICAR NIHSAD has confirmed deaths of wild birds and crows from Tonk, Karoli, Bhilwara of Rajasthan, Valsad, Vadodara, Surat of Gujarat. Confirmed deaths of crows have come from Kotdwar and Dehradun of Uttarakhand. Sanjay Jheel in East Delhi has confirmed deaths of crows and ducks, while bird flu has been confirmed from poultry farms in Parbhani, while crow deaths have been reported from Mumbai, Thane, Dapoli and Beed in Maharashtra. Culling of infected birds is in progress in Haryana. One central team reached Panchkula on Monday. The team is taking stock of the steps taken in the affected areas. Meanwhile, Union Animal Husbandry Minister Giriraj Singh said that rumours with regard to bird flu are being spread across the country, creating an atmosphere of fear. Giriraj Singh has said that he has asked Delhi's Kejriwal government to open the Ghazipur poultry market.
दिल्ली में जब कुछ होता है तो उसका रिफ्लेक्शन पूरे देश में जाता है। जब गाजीपुर की बात आई तब ये पोल्ट्री के फार्मर सब लोग तबाह। और हम सोच रहे थे कि 8 तारीख को हमने जो चिट्ठियां डाली है प्रदेश को, तो वो शायद दिल्ली भी इसको गंभीरता से देखा होगा, लेकिन कहीं देखने में लगता है चूक हो गई।
Center has advised states that awareness should be spread among the people. States and union territories have been told that strict vigilant monitoring should be done on bird markets, ponds, zoos, poultry farms. Let us tell you that there has been no evidence of its transmission among humans till now, and there has been no direct evidence to point out that the consumption of polluted poultry products leads to transmission of bird flu among humans. Doctors say that if one cooks the chicken and eggs properly, then there is no danger of transmission. Overall, there is no reason to worry, but need to exercise a little bit of precautions. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, India will host an international summit on startups this week. It's expected to give a fillip to nurturing young talent by bringing industry and academia together. Take a look at the next report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called upon youngsters to attend Praram, the Startup India International Summit, to be held on January 15th and 16th. Prime Minister said that Praram seeks to bring together top minds from industry, academia, investment, banking and finance beside young startup leaders. Sharing his thought in a LinkedIn post, Prime Minister highlighted many aspects of Praram. He exhorted the youth to join the startup revolution. Prime Minister said, in 2020, everyone had to alter their work styles. Work from home is in, and so is greater adapting to the technology. Virtual interactions have become the new normal during the COVID-19 pandemic. Big advantage of online interactions is that people can be part of programs sitting at home. Prime Minister said that for me, it meant more programs online which were extremely productive and insightful. He further said that these were interactions with scientists, medical professionals, COVID warriors, academics, industry leaders, young innovators, spiritual leaders, and more. Prime Minister said that there were virtual summits, both bilateral and multilateral, with world leaders. He also talked about public programs across India in which path-breaking development schemes were launched. Prime Minister recounted his interaction with lakhs of beneficiaries of existing government schemes. He then exhorted the youth that one such opportunity is coming up on 15th and 16th January in the form of Praram, the Startup India International Summit. He added that this summit seeks to bring together the top minds from industry, academia, investment, banking, finance, and of course, young startup leaders. Prime Minister took pride and said that India would be marking 5 years since the Startup India initiative began. This initiative has propelled India to being the most attractive startup ecosystems globally. He added that our startup heroes are not merely coming from big cities, but they also come from smaller towns, which is a very good sign. Prime Minister lauded the youth, saying no words can do justice to the spirit of India's youth. He added that their penchant for innovation has led to outstanding results. Prime Minister's invite will surely egg on the youngsters of India to follow the incredible story of India's startup ecosystem, and they will surely try and be a part of it. With inputs from Arun Sharma in New Delhi, News Night Desk, DD India.
New Delhi is playing host to the National Youth Parliament Festival 2021. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla and Youth Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju addressed the delegates on the opening day. The next report has more.
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has recalled how the authors of our constitution kept the people at its centre, and even today, all work is being done keeping the same core values in perspective. Addressing the National Youth Parliament Festival, the Speaker said the strength and maturity of democracy in our country is evident from how transfer of power has taken place smoothly over the course of 17 general elections. He said the youth have a key role to play in the progress of our nation and they should contribute actively to it.
लगातार मतदाताओं का मत प्रतिशत बढ़ना, देश के नौजवानों का लोकतंत्र के पर्व में सक्रिय योगदान देना और उनका विश्वास रखना निश्चित रूप से यही कारण है कि आज हमारा लोकतंत्र और मजबूत हुआ है, समृद्ध हुआ है। हमारे लोकतंत्र की परिपक्वता इस बात से भी है कि 17 आम चुनाव के अंदर जिस सहजता से सत्ता का हस्तांतरण हुआ, उस सत्ता के हस्तांतरण से ये साबित करता है कि भारत का लोकतंत्र मजबूत है और हमारे संविधान में ये व्यवस्था दी है कि जब भी शासन में कोई व्यवस्था होगी तो चुनी हुई सरकार की व्यवस्था होगी।
Speaking on the occasion, Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports, Kiren Rijiju, said youth can bring their social and economic specialities to the fore through the National Youth Parliament Festival. The PM will virtually address the Youth Parliament Festival on Tuesday.
यूथ का इन्वॉल्वमेंट पॉलिटिक्स में और पार्लियामेंट में और इस देश को चलाने में बहुत ज़रूरी है और मैं थैंक यू बोलना चाहूँगी हमारे मिनिस्टर को और प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी को कि उन्होंने हमें ये अपॉर्चुनिटी दी।
Giving a platform from those far away places, from far away villages to come up in this national level platform and give a voice for policy making is a great opportunity.
जब बात करेंगे तब बात बढ़ेगी, जब बात बढ़ेगी तो नॉलेज बढ़ेगा। तो हम युवाएं जब पार्लियामेंट हाउस में आते हैं, एक दूसरे के बारे में बात करते हैं, बात सुनते हैं, तो ये एक प्लेटफॉर्म है जहां नॉलेज का आदान प्रदान होता है। तो इससे बढ़ा और इससे बढ़िया शायद ही कुछ हो पाए।
हम अपने पर्सपेक्टिव को रखेंगे और हमें दूसरों के पर्सपेक्टिव से कुछ नया जानने को मिलेगा।
It was in the 31st of December 2017 edition of Mann Ki Baat program that Prime Minister Modi gave the call for holding of mock parliaments at the district level throughout the country. He felt that it would help the youth develop a better understanding of parliamentary democracy, apart from providing them with an opportunity to exchange views on the making of a new India. With Shailendra Mishra in Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
In other news, along with the green cover, the number of tigers, Asiatic lions and leopards are growing. Releasing 3 reports on management effectiveness evaluation of national parks, zoos and marine ecology, Minister Prakash Javadekar highlighted that India is the first country to do so.
भारत एक तरह से अगुवाई कर रहा है, पहला देश है एक तरह से कि जो अपने नेशनल पार्क एंड सैंक्चुअरीज, मरीन पार्क्स और जूज तीनों के मैनेजमेंट इफेक्टिवनेस इवैल्यूएशंस रख रहा है, प्रकाशित कर रहा है। और हम छुपाएंगे क्यों? क्योंकि भारत ने करके दिखाया जो अनेक देशों को संभव नहीं हो पाया। हमारी वन संपदा बढ़ी है, पिछले 6 सालों में 15,000 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर से भी ज्यादा ट्री कवर देश का बढ़ा है।
The minister said that the rise in the number of animals on top of the food chain signifies the progress India has made in bettering the ecological balance. The minister announced that from this year, 10 best national parks, 5 marine protected areas and 5 zoos will be showcased before the world. Right, and now to the other big story we are tracking on Newsnight. US lawmakers are struggling to decide what to do about Donald Trump between now and 20th January when Joe Biden is sworn in as the US president. The Democrats want Trump to be removed from office immediately or debarred from contesting ever again after he is impeached at a later date. But will the Republicans oblige? Find out in the next report. The Democrats, who have the majority in the lower chamber of the US legislature, plan a vote on 11th January to urge Vice President Mike Pence to take steps to remove President Donald Trump from office before attempting to impeach him again. This after Trump's supporters stormed the US legislature, which left 5 people dead, including a policeman. Speaker Nancy Pelosi spelled the plan out in a letter to the members on Sunday. Democrats hope to pass a resolution calling on Pence to activate the 25th Amendment of the US Constitution to declare Trump incapable of fulfilling the duties of his office. If Pence does not respond, Democrats would proceed with impeaching the president for a historic second time. Republicans have rejected the idea of impeaching Trump. They say it would only compound divisions within the US. There was support among some Republicans for Trump's removal though, but Pence says he is opposed to using the 25th Amendment to remove Trump. In 2019, Trump was impeached by the lower chamber of the legislature but was acquitted a month later by the upper chamber. Newsnight Desk, DD India. All right, time now for our In Focus segment in which we are discussing about US lawmakers mull Trump ouster. And joining me is Ambassador Meera Shankar. She is a former Indian ambassador to the US. Ambassador Shankar, welcome to Newsnight. Now, the Democrats, led by Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, has issued an ultimatum: remove Trump from office or we will impeach him. Is either of the threats probable in your estimation?
Well, it's possible only if there's a consensus between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Right.
As of now, you see, Speaker Pelosi has said that she will move a resolution in the House tomorrow morning, today actually in the US, which will be later. And this will request Mike Pence, the Vice President, to declare President Trump unable to discharge his duties under the 25th Amendment of the US Constitution. And then that would be he would be set aside and Mike Pence would take over. This is also requires the support of the majority of the cabinet. So that's the other thing. Does the majority of the cabinet support it? And if this does not happen, Speaker Pelosi has said that she will proceed with impeachment of President Trump for a second time. Now, it's possible that the House may pass a resolution for impeachment because the House requires only a simple majority.
Right.
And the Democrats have the majority. I think they already have 211 co-sponsors of the impeachment resolution. And they're hopeful they'll be able to take it up to 217, which would be the number they require to pass it. They're also hopeful that a few Republicans could join them, Representative Kinzinger, who has already said that he would support this, etc. So there are some Republicans who might join, but it's still open to question whether the majority of Republicans would go along. The other is that then it has to go to the Senate, which actually transforms itself into a court, really, for purpose of the trial. And there, Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader, the majority leader, has said that he is not going to accelerate hearings and he won't take this up before 19th. So President Trump is due to, in any case, hand over on 20th January when Joe Biden takes over. So it doesn't leave much time. Plus, again, in the Senate, actually, a 2/3 majority is required.
Right.
Which may or may not be forthcoming.
Indeed.
And in case it spills over into Biden's term, I think there are also political questions whether this is something that Joe Biden would want.
Indeed. And Mr. Shankar, talking about the political questions that you've just touched upon, now, Biden, when asked, was non-committal. He said, I leave it to the lawmakers and the US legislature. Clearly, he says he wants to hit the ground running and tackle the important issues and priorities he has set for himself, tackling the COVID pandemic, bringing economic recovery and passing suitable legislations. So clearly, Biden does not want to be seen as, focusing on impeaching Trump as the first order of business just yet. So clearly, he is also looking at very politically, because this could come back to haunt him over the next 4 years.
Yes, because he doesn't want to be sidetracked from his agenda, which is challenging enough as it is. I think the other aspect is that he has said that he wants to be president for all of America, those who voted for him, those who didn't vote for him, and he wants to, basically bring a healing touch. I think if he moves ahead with impeachment, then, it makes his task even more difficult in such a polarized polity. So I am not sure that this will move. But if you see, look at what happened with Richard Nixon. He resigned rather than be impeached.
Right.
But I don't think we'll see that from President Trump. I don't think he has that kind of, what could I say, grace to step down and, finish or bring the mess that he created with his unwillingness to recognize the result of the elections to closure.
Indeed.
The one thing that people are saying is, Trump doesn't want to be prosecuted and go to prison. So if he were to step down and Mike Pence became the president, then Mike Pence could pardon him. And that would be legitimate. That's what happened with Nixon. And that could be an incentive, but I am very doubtful about that, whether this would be incentive.
Ambassador Shankar, I want you to look back and look ahead at the same time. Look back at the Trump legacy and looking ahead at the Biden presidency. Do you think Biden, as the 46th US president, will be able to cut loose and chart his own path? Or do you think he will be tied down by the Trump legacy? Because this is a deeply divided America like never before in the history of the US. And Biden will have a tough time on his hands to actually take everybody along with him.
Yes, it will be. It's a huge, huge challenge. But I think it will take time. And he's experienced. He knows the workings of government. And he knows the workings of Congress. And he has, over his years in the Senate, built very good working relationships with many of the Republican senators, including Mitch McConnell. He's also aided by the fact that he now controls the Senate, because with the win of the two runoff Senate seats in Georgia, the Democrats have won them, and Kamala Harris having the deciding vote as vice president, then the Republicans with Kamala Harris's vote would have a the Democrats would have a majority of one in the Senate, which also makes the business of getting on with government easier, because otherwise the Republicans could have blocked his legislation, his appointments, his nominations, and the whole process could have become extremely slow. There is urgency in the sense that it's a crisis situation. And the number of coronavirus cases have been galloping, and they need to roll out that vaccination very fast to get a grip on the situation, because the economy is not going to improve unless they really get a grip on the pandemic. So both are, extremely urgent and brook no delay. And then there is Biden's own plans for a stimulus, for a green stimulus, to rejoin the Paris Convention, to look at the possibility of resuming negotiations with Iran to revive the nuclear deal if it is possible, if Iran comes back into compliance with the agreement. So there's a range of priorities he has set for himself, which are pretty urgent and which will require all his skill. So as of now, really, he's been signaling very clearly that he doesn't want to be sidetracked from his agenda or, exacerbate the polarizations.
Indeed. Ambassador Shankar, thank you so much for sharing your insights with our viewers on Newsnight. Thank you once again for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you. Right, now moving on, the 51st International Film Festival of India gets underway at Goa on 16th January. It will be held in a hybrid format. The 9-day-long festival can be witnessed online, while the opening and closing ceremonies will be held on location with a smaller audience. The next report gives you a flavor of the films that would be featured at the festival.
IFI, which takes place in Goa from November 20th to 28th every year, was postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic and will now be held from January 16th to January 24th in a hybrid format, for which the entire film fraternity is all geared up and excited. Bangladesh is the focus country. Country in Focus is a special segment that recognizes the cinematic excellence and contributions of the country. 4 films from Bangladesh, Jibon Dhuli and Megh Mallar,
He is Professor Nurul Huda.
under construction, and Sincerely Yours Dhaka are included in this segment. Jibon Dhuli and Megh Malhar are set against the backdrop of the 1971 Liberation War. The country recently commemorated the 50th anniversary of its creation. Director Tanveer Mokamil's Jibon Dhuli is a 2014 drama feature which revolves around a drummer and his family during the 1971 war. Megh Mallar, directed by Zahidur Rahim Anjan, follows an ordinary family that goes through a life-altering experience amid the conflict. Under Construction narrates the story of a modern Muslim woman struggling to find herself in the sprawl of urban Bangladesh. Directed by Rubaiyat Hussain, the 2015 film stars Indian actors Shahana Goswami and Rahul Bose. Sincerely Yours, Dhaka is a collection of 11 gritty shots centered on the capital city of Bangladesh, Dhaka, and the people living on its margins. The 2018 anthology features short segments by 11 individual directors and was selected as Bangladesh's entry for the Best International Feature Film at the 93rd Academy Awards. India has constantly extended the Bangladesh film industry a lot of support. Last year, an MOU was signed for co-production of a film on Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman to be directed by eminent filmmaker Shyam Benegal that will be released as part of the birth centenary celebrations of the Bangladesh founder. The agreement was signed in the presence of Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar and his Bangladeshi counterpart Hassan Mahmood. Rukma Datta's report for DD India.
And now to news from the world of sport. A battered and bruised India team batted resiliently through the final day to snatch a remarkable draw in the third test against Australia on Monday, leaving an engrossing series tied at 1-1 heading into the final match in Brisbane. A hobbling Hanuma Vihari combined with Ravi Chandran Ashwin to defy Australia's attack in a partnership over the last 3 hours of the match that kept alive India's hopes of a second successive series triumph down under. The 6th wicket stand was worth only 62 runs, but immeasurably more in terms of morale for a squad that's endured quarantine, alleged racial abuse from fans and a catalogue of injuries. Australia's frontline bowlers, who skittled the tourists, were 36 in the first test, threw everything they had at the Indian batsmen on a day 5 wicket at Sydney Cricket Ground that did not deteriorate as much as they had hoped. India finished on 334 for 5, 73 runs short of the victory target of 407 that Australia had handed them after declaring on 312 for 6 at tea on Sunday. Earlier, a brilliant 97 from Rishabh Pant and a typically obdurate 77 from Cheteshwar Pujara had given India a glimmer of hope that they might just be able to chase down their imposing target. Once they departed, however, a draw was clearly the only target. In world news, Taiwan launched a newly redesigned passport that gives greater prominence to the island's day-to-day name. It aims to avoid confusion with China amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and Beijing stepped up efforts to assert its sovereignty over the island. The new passport enlarges the word Taiwan in English and removes Republic of China, although that name in Chinese and in small English font around the national emblem remains. Australian authorities said they will lift the 3-day lockdown in Brisbane on Monday after no new local coronavirus cases were recorded. Queensland put the state capital of Brisbane into lockdown on Friday after one person tested positive to the strain originating in the UK. Masks will be made compulsory for 10 days at indoor public venues such as shopping malls. Australia has been more successful than most advanced economies in managing the pandemic, with total infections in the country of 25 million people at around 28,000, including 909 deaths. Indonesian Navy divers scouring the seabed on Monday were closing in on data recorders from a Sriwijaya air jet that plunged into the sea 2 days ago with 62 people on board, minutes after takeoff from Jakarta's main airport. Authorities pinpointed the area where the data recorders, known as black boxes, are located as they lifted chunks of the jet's fuselage off the seabed. Rescuers have also found human body parts and their personal effects. Rescuers have so far found one of the jet's turbines, pieces of the plane's tail, the rim of a wheel and an emergency chute, as well as clothing and personal belongings from passengers. Authorities said the jet may have been intact before it hit the water because the debris found so far had been scattered in a relatively tight area underwater. Search and rescue operations continued in western Indonesia, where landslides caused by heavy rains killed at least 13 people and left 27 missing. The landslides at Cihangjuang village in West Java occurred on Saturday, when rescuers were still evacuating victims around the first landslide area. The unpredictable weather continues to pose challenges for the search and rescue members working on the fairly steep terrain with unstable soil conditions. Heavy snowfall hit Japan's northern prefectures, leaving hundreds of cars stranded, even as Japan's military was deployed to help the drivers. More than 1,000 vehicles were stuck at its peak on a motorway. And it's a wrap, but news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.